What is going on, everybody? You let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Just type sounds good, whatever. That way I know before I move on here. You guys should be able to hear me okay. Check my mic. It's good on my end. All right. We got Super Gentleman in the house, by the way. So you guys got any questions in chat, especially bot related? I'm sure he'll be able to hopefully help you out while I'm doing my analysis. I just really wanted to walk you guys through. So for those of you in Discord, well, let me check something real fast. Somebody says I'm echoing. I'm not. Hopefully that's not the case. Shouldn't be. But anyway, I'm going to get into this. So first, I'm going to start with Discord. So I want to kind of walk you guys through what I've been typing, because I think it's really important to kind of talk you guys through my thought process and what I've been seeing, why I took profit on my long position, why I took a short, that type of stuff. Just kind of give you guys an idea of kind of what's been going on. So I guess I'll start. I mean, hopefully if you guys have been in Discord, you guys have been reading all of this stuff that I've been posting. Not, you know, it's just for you guys, to help you guys out. But a lot of it's been pretty good, I would say, and the levels have been very, very well respected. And, you know, obviously, like I wrote in here in this post that technical analysis, it's very important to like take into consideration when you are using your trading bots. Like it very much is going to help you make better decisions, I guess you could say. So, you know, like I've given a lot of examples of what I thought the market was doing. Specifically today, things, you know, and today, as you know, I mean, since daily open, it's been basically nothing but down. There was quite a bit of weakness in the market, and I'll get to the charts in a second. But like I was just posting, so these are my thoughts. These are literally my thoughts today. So I guess this was last night before I went to sleep. So as we get down, yeah, so today, so this afternoon, alt's pretty weak. Great reason to consider keeping your risk lower at this time. Obviously, for everybody using trading bots, you know, majority of us are trading altcoins. So we got to know, you know, at least have a fair idea of what direction the market is heading. Like if you're using DCA bots, obviously your goal is volatility, right? So like you want volatility, but it becomes a problem when it's volatility in one direction though, right? Like we want volatility going back and forth, not one direction. So like the message here, which I've been saying for weeks now, and I keep saying it because like, I want to make sure that obviously everybody like knows where I'm coming from, right? But I think it's very critical to keep your risk lower at this time. And yes, you know, if you're using trading bots, you might not be making as much money as we were last month, for example, or like, you know, for months and months and months before that. But when we come into periods of consolidation, obviously, you know, we've had quite a big move to the downside, and we're literally ranging right now. We're range bound, and the volatility to an extent has died down. So we're not getting the day-to-day movements that we've been accustomed to, essentially, right? Or the up only, especially like when we're just kind of grinding upward and upward and upward. Obviously, you're closing deals then because you're running long bots. So, you know, this is just a point in the market where you need to be a little careful about your risk, I would say. And so again, alts look weak. Basically what I discussed above, which is right here, is that ETH, you know, I put a lot of weight between or behind whether like how strong Ethereum is, right? If it's strong in general, altcoins are likely to show strength. If Ethereum is weak, especially, you know, if Ethereum is weak versus Bitcoin, relative, like you're gonna see altcoin weakness across the market. And today, alts have been not doing very well, obviously. So then you know, ETH definitely looks bad right now versus Bitcoin. This isn't, you know, a good thing. So I posted this. you know, I've been talking about this long position since I took it, but I closed the remainder of my Bitcoin long, and I give you the literal reasons why I decided to close my long, which was around, you know, 37,353. So I don't like how weak things look outside of Bitcoin. At that point, Bitcoin actually looked pretty decent, but Ethereum looked awful, altcoins looked awful, and when you see a general weakness in the entire rest of the market, to me, you know, especially with Bitcoin being at the high of the range, which I will get to the charts here in just a second, but you literally have Bitcoin at pretty important resistance, and the rest of the market looks terrible. That told me like I should probably close my long. If Bitcoin breaks the range to the upside, I'm happy to look at another trade setup. So this is very important. And I think when you're learning to trade, because I know a lot of people here are, you know, like have been looking at the technical analysis posts that I've been sharing. Obviously, I have the modules that are going to be coming out. Like people have been asking me quite a bit, like what indicators do you use? How do you use them? You know, wanting to learn more. I'll tell you one simple thing, like when it comes to trading, something that I think is really helpful. When you are stuck in a range and you get to the extreme end of the range, right? Which I'll show in a second. If you've managed to take a long position from the low, which I did, this is a very good entry in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with exiting your trade when you hit the top of the range, right? Even if it continues higher, you can always get back in if you see a lot of strength. So you can always get back in. You're not, you know, you're not going to necessarily miss a whole bunch of upside, if that makes sense. So like it's better to lock in profit. And obviously like you see where I took profit and what happened after that, right? Now, again, I'm not saying that just to be like, oh, look at my trade, but it's really like I'm giving you the reasons why I exited the trade. Perfectly happy locking up the rest of profit here, getting ready for the next trade, which you'll see down here. This was my next trade, and it was really simple. So this is a short trade, entered at 37,143. That's my average entry. But anyway, the reason is, again, we're near range highs. That was the target of the trade anyway. So I hit the target that I wanted to see. I was hoping that Bitcoin was going to continue to show strength. It didn't. And the rest of the market looked terrible. So I took profit. And then seeing the continued weakness in alts, seeing the continued weakness in Ethereum, I thought, and especially because the stock market had closed at this point, you know, we're heading into the weekend type trading. I thought that there was like, I wanted to lock in my profit and be done. And then I saw again the continued weakness that would let me to take the short. So anyway, yeah, looks terrible. Decided against leaving it open. Anyway, you know, I've been walking everybody through literally all the levels that I think are important. I've done a lot of analysis here for you guys to read through if you're interested. For those of you in Telegram, obviously, like I'm not doing this, and I wish that there was a bot that was. Oh, hold on, Rocket Mike is here. I see that in chat. I gotta add him as a moderator. There we go. So you're good. You know, I've been giving a lot of information here, even later. So this evening, basically grinding our way down to 35K, and we are basically at 35K. We'll see the reaction there. I'll get to that in a second. Did some Ethereum charting, gave you a nice, you know, Ethereum versus Bitcoin, little nice bounce zone here. It's actually, I will go into this and take a look live and see what's going on here. You know, my green boxes, how much I like those. Short position, approaching value area low, taking a bit more off. Like I'm literally walking everybody through what I'm doing. Okay, so that's that. Now let's get to the chart itself. Let me just take a drink here. Okay, so one of the things that I went through in chat was I taking out 35,820, so $35,820. You can see this is a key level here. I said this is an area that I don't want to lose, you know, because if we lose this level, I could see us, you know, having continuation to the downside. Next immediate target value area low, $35,092. I gave that as a your key levels. Where are they? Right here. So support levels to be aware of, 35,092. We're literally there right now, like a rebound off of this zone. And then 33,850, I'll go over that. Obviously, that's a really big level for me. Below this, you don't really want to know. Let's leave it at that. But anyway, here is $35.92 so far. I mean, we haven't like perfectly tagged it, but we're very, very close to that. I do think that we're going to get a relief bounce here. This is a logical place to get a relief bounce. And so I can actually take this off now. This is done and over with. So unfortunately, like this isn't good that we took this low. I do think that we're you know, this is the value area low of the current range. It makes sense to bounce here. And so like as far as immediate resistance, if we do get a bounce here, I look right back to the range point of control, which is 36,920, and it's been a really nice level. So, and here's your, you know, your big range value area high. So this 37,915, that was the target, like the ultimate target of that long position I took from 31,000. So this was like, this is, you know, as far as the target for that trade, it was hit. And obviously I was hoping we were going to continue and break to the upside. That didn't happen. We tried, but ultimately fell back below value area low, which tells me, hey, like this is a really good short opportunity. Obviously I didn't short from here. I was asleep during this time. This is 6:30 in the morning my time. There's no way in hell I'm up at that early. But anyway, I took a short somewhere around here before this drop. And, you know, again, we're seeing a decent move to downside. Obviously, we don't want that. So that's Bitcoin. And, you know, this weekly level right here, it is here. I'm actually going to delete this. I don't think, you know, I don't really think that this is going to be respected very well. It's kind of been washed out a bit. This next trade to the downside. So Dan says it's 6:19 a.m. here now. Why am I up? That's a really good question, Dan. There's no way my ass would be awake right now, I'll tell you that. So I guess like before I go into this, I gotta see who's here. I gotta see who's here. So Super Gentleman's here. John Mason, okay. Devin McMasters, Adrian, what's up? Ryan99, what's going on? Wayne Hancock, J-Dog, Bryce, Martin. Is that Frank? That's a pretty cool way to spell Frank if that's how it is. Marcel. I got a bunch of people here, so I appreciate that. Obviously, again, like I wanted to do something for you guys. I haven't been live in over a month, I think. So I really wanted to jump on and, you know, kind of see what's going on. And like, so you can see here, we are getting a bit of a bounce off of the value area low, which not to say like that was expected, but this is a logical place to get a bounce in, which is why it was a level that I shared in Discord. Because this is the bottom of the current range. So this is a very important level. If this is lost, then I would say it's bigger problems, but I'll show you the target here that I would be looking at if you zoom out. So you see, zoom out a little bit. There's kind of a lot going on here, and I try to not have my chart look like this, but for me, it's really important because I'm able to actually change this to 15 minutes is fine. But essentially what I'm looking for right now, and I think would be a really nice opportunity for a long, is right here in this golden pocket region. So you're literally taking your swing low from 31,000, which was our ultimate low here for this move to the downside. So you're taking it from your low to your high at 38,477. So that's where I'm pulling my fib from. Golden pocket comes down, you know, where you see this yellow box, and what is sitting here at this yellow box, the big range point of control. So this is the old range point of control from January. So that range that we traded back in January, this is this level. I think it's been an incredible, it has been an incredible level to trade off of, you know, especially on this rise up. I mean, you can go in and look. Oh man, it's going to make me drag it all the way back, isn't it? So back here, this was on the way up, right? So let me delete this just for a second. So this is your $31,000 low down here. We reclaim value area low. This is what led me to take the long. So we actually swing failed a previous level, push back above value area low. That to me, and like it wasn't like you know, I mean, it's definitely when you get that type of a setup, it's definitely like it's a trade I am looking at 10 times out of 10. Like that's a trade that I'm very interested in. But it wasn't really that strong here, I would argue. It wasn't like a very strong reaction. So it was a little concerning, which is why I wrote in chat, like it's high risk. Like this isn't really the kind of reaction I wanted to see here. But when you get your triggers fired, like you got to take the trade. And you know, if you're wrong on it, you're wrong on it. It's really that simple. But so once we reclaim this, then naturally, like the first target that I'm interested in is the point of control, right? And look at your point of control. It like this is perfection right here on this candle. So you come, make your low here at 31,000, straight to your point of control resistance. So you back off of that, come back, test it again, break through, and look at your back test, back test, back test, then you push off. This is a really important level. It's very well respected on that rise up. It's a really important level for your overall range. So to the downside, if it comes back and you know, this comes into play again, it's definitely an area of interest for myself, which, let me kind of zoom out for you again. Oh my goodness, here we go. So, but it lines up, right? Your golden pocket line, and basically your 618 retracement lines up very nicely with this level. So I am this, you know, if I get an opportunity to trade this, I'm going to trade it. Would this be something that I would take? You know, would I leave bids there? Hell no, I wouldn't leave bids there, especially with the type of, you know, because you get to the point where like if we flush through this level, it could get really ugly in a hurry. And with my luck, I'd be sleeping just like the first time around. That actually happened to me. So when we had that big flush down to 29.8, the first time when we had that flush out, I was asleep and I had resting bids, I think at like 34,000 for that one. And luckily when I woke up, Bitcoin was like 37 or 38,000. So I was very fortunate that happened, obviously. And I was able, like, it ended up being a nice trade, but I would say that's a terrible trade, just because of how deep it ended up going. And, you know, you might not have got that deep of a snapback. That wasn't a good idea. So that's kind of an example of like why you don't do that. But, and, you know, in this case, do I think that this level is going to hold up very well if it's tested? Yes, I do. At least, you know, for a decent bounce. But I wouldn't be like setting bids here and going to sleep and praying and, you know, seeing what it looks like in the morning. Like that's not something I would want to do. I would want to see this in real time, see the reaction, see what the reaction looks like, and go from there. So Rocket Mike, in our admin channel, we often joke that when Bitcoin drops, whenever TA is going to bed. It's totally true. I swear. Whenever I go to bed, like I'll make, you know, we'll say like, oh man, I'm going to sleep. Hopefully things don't go to hell. And lately it's kind of been that way. So, you know, this is immediate term Bitcoin. Okay. So this is very much low time frame stuff. You know, we're literally like, I'm on like very low time frame right now, giving you very, you know, low time frame levels. Essentially, if we lose value area low, I think this area comes into play. Does it get this deep? You know, man, that'd be kind of interesting for it to happen over the weekend, to be honest. And sorry, my wife's texting me because she knows I'm on a stream, but she's literally home. So if she comes barging in my office here, that's my wife. But anyway, so value area low. That's a good question. I actually want to answer that. So Akash, hopefully I'm saying that right. Akash, why don't you set a limit buy at 31K before going to bed? So that's actually a really good question. And the simple answer is, if you get that deep at 31K, you know, you could put a stop loss below the ultimate low. So what he's asking is, you could, you know, why don't you put a limit bid at 31K and before going to sleep? And the simple answer is, if we come back down here, I would want to see how we come back down here, because what could happen is we could literally flush to the downside on high volume. And I mean, you know, again, I could put my stop loss below this low. You know, that's certainly, you know, that's, I would say that's a decent invalidation, but I wouldn't really like to do that overnight, because we could get a legitimate flush. And when I wake up, if something happens with my stop loss, it doesn't trigger, whatever reason, I don't know, you know, like you could wake up at 25K. So setting bids down here again, like I'll tell you, would I be interested in taking a long off 30, you know, the value area low, 31,000? Hell yeah, I would. But that's something that I would want to see, like, as it happens. Look at how it approaches, look at volume, look at open interest, look at that type of stuff, and see, like, what, you know, how are we approaching this level? When we do, what happens? Is it respected? Do we just flush straight through? You know, it's because it certainly could be possible. And I went over this. I've done quite a few. I've done quite a few admin TA streams, and I just recently did one last night with some of the admins, or the trading bot coaches, and I invited the legends to take part in that as well. And this is something that I went over. Let me kind of clean this up for you. So you can see what happened when we came down and made this low, right? The initial flush to the, you know, look at this flush, massive flush down. The reaction was really good. You know, this was a huge move. I would say, I mean, it's 42% move from the low, $12,600 bounce. I mean, that's a very, very, very good response, I guess you could say. And then you look at the second time that we came down and tested these lows. You know, obviously we came in, filled in some of this wick, not surprising. And you know, you got a nice reaction off of your value area low yet again, and got another really nice push to the upside. Now, what happened on this one? So you look, right? We came right back down to your value area low again. Nice, ended up being a really nice long trade. But the reaction is just, it's weaker. So, right? So you have this type of reaction. It gets weaker, but still a very nice reaction off of here. And then you get to the third iteration of it, you know, again, still a decent reaction off of this level, but not as strong as, you know, as previous times. And you can see, like, volatility wise, range wise, we are very much consolidating. The range is getting a bit tighter, which is part of the reason why, you know, as far as relating this to trading bots goes, a lot of deals aren't closing like we're used to seeing, because your volatility is dying down, right? Alts, you know, especially when you have Ethereum, you have altcoins starting to look weak, you're gonna have less deals closing. So that's the reason why. That's yet another reason why bidding here, could it work out again? Yeah, absolutely. Like, we could continue to be range bound for a long time. Like, we could just stay in this range for you know, weeks, months, who really knows. But the more times that you come and test this, you know, test the bottom of the range like that, you know, the weaker the support becomes usually. And we could come back and test this one more time, two more times, and maybe on that fifth iteration, we get the flush. It's hard to say. So, you know, leaving bids here overnight and going to bed, it's not really the best idea in my opinion. So that's like the long, drawn out answer to your question, but I hope that makes sense. So again, level by level, very simple. If we lose value area low, I will look to this range, like the big range point of control, golden pocket here. I think it's really, like, I think this is a nice opportunity. You know, not financial advice, obviously, but part of the reason why I think that that's a good opportunity too is because the fact that it's happening on a weekend as well. Typically, a lot of moves that happen on a weekend, especially if they're favoring, you know, downside heavily or favoring to the upside heavily, a lot of times you'll see that move get reverted by the time CME's open, you know, on Sunday, or by New York open on Monday. Like, typically that, like, the move that you had a lot of times early in the weekend gets reverted. So if you know, we had a really nice spike to the upside, typically, like, you'll see price roll back over and come back to right around where the market closed. Essentially, now we're getting this move to the downside. I mean, look at this 4-hour candle that just closed. That's pretty nasty, honestly. That's a nasty candle. But you know, we're obviously moving to the downside here. It's still very early in the weekend, so if we do come back, you know, we do kind of test some lower levels, I do think like it being the weekend does add a nice confluence to us seeing this get reverted back to maybe 36, 37K. And you look here that where CME's closed 37K. So, you know, coming back to like basically if we do get a move down here, it's, you know, decent enough for me. That's one of the things that I would be looking at to possibly get, you know, move back up to point of control maybe by the time, you know, that time happened. James Smith, 7:30 in the morning beer. Dude, that's phenomenal. I applaud you. So that's Bitcoin short term. Okay, I'm talking like this weekend. So this is literally the range that I will be monitoring this weekend. It's that simple. To the upside, you have your clear resistance. If we manage to retake point of control, which is the immediate range point of control, then I look up to these levels. So this big range value area high, this is your old range from January, but it's incredible. Like it's very, very well respected still. So I like, as you can see, like it has been very well respected so far. Ultimately, like the top high, I think like the max that we would go this weekend, which obviously I would have wanted to see us push up there today, not down here. Obviously, a lot of things can happen, but I think like the high of the range for the weekend would definitely be 39K. That's my guess. I think the probability of us moving above 39K is incredibly small. It's the same thing where I think like the probability of us breaking 31K to the downside this weekend is incredibly small. So I'm looking to play this immediate range. So that's Bitcoin. I could go over some higher time frame stuff. I'm trying to think if I want to do that right now or if I want to get to Ethereum. I guess I could come back to Bitcoin if you guys want. But I do want to go. Is this the one I want to do? I did quite a bit of charting today, so forgive me. I need to kind of see what levels I was looking at. So this is a chart that I've been sharing for quite a while. Incredibly, wow. So kind of zoom out for you. So, and I don't know how well you guys can see this, but basically what I was looking at. So this is from a macro perspective on also. So Frank asked, what after the 39K? I think so. What did I have at 39K? I think like 42K, which was like the prior high. I think it was 42,444 if I'm not mistaken. That becomes incredibly important level. And then you know, I can go back and do some high time frame analysis, like people really want to see it, but considering it's the weekend, there's probably not, you know, I really do not think there's going to be a break of the range this weekend. So I could save it for a different video as well. But anyway, this is like a macro outlook on Ethereum versus Bitcoin, right? So this is very much kind of my altcoin barometer as well. So this, you know, I put a lot of weight on this chart as far as not only how Ethereum is doing, but how alts in general are doing. And, you know, here's your weeks. Altcoins were ripping, right? I mean, it's not even just this point. It's really since here, you know, we've had a really nice move to the upside. And then, you know, now we're finding quite a bit of resistance here at this monthly level. Definitely at this level, which I will show you where I drew this fib from. It's very easy. It's from this swing high, right? So you have your all-time high. Let me make sure. Yep. So you have your all-time high here back in June of 2017. Then you have your December 17 low. And then your pivot right here. So basically this is your next swing high. So you have your high, low, lower high. And you don't, yep, you do come down, make a lower low, obviously, but it's from this high point down to your ultimate low point here on this consolidation. This was in 2019, 2020. So this was a very long form consolidation. So the fib from here works out incredibly well because like this is a very critical point. Obviously, your low of the consolidation is a really important point. And where does your golden pocket line up? So there was a ton of confluence here. So you have your golden pocket, you have your R5 yearly pivot. So that's a big deal. There's actually a weekly level up here, which I put less emphasis on that on this time frame, but it's still very much relevant. And so not only your R5 yearly pivot, but you also had a May pivot, a monthly pivot sitting right at this level. So there was a ton of confluence for this being really tough resistance. And you got your wick very, very, very close to your 618 before it pushed off. And you haven't closed a single weekly candle above this monthly. Like this monthly has been just incredibly well respected, right? So you got your push through, close below. I mean, this was a flush. I guess you could call it a flush. But then we came right back up to your monthly level before, you know, a pretty decent size rejection. All right. But, you know, I would be careful. Like, to me, this is pretty healthy overall from a macro perspective. Now, I mean, now macro, when you zoom out, could this be another lower high before we move back to this range? Possible. So that is something that you got to think about, right? Do I think that's what's happening? I don't think it's happening yet, but it is possible. Like this would be, so you have your high, you know, technically this is a lower high, but you know, like this was a massive, massive important area. So seeing the type of reaction that I've seen so far from it, I'm not surprised. Like it's not, you know, I definitely think this is not bearish at all to me. This isn't bearish. So I'm not that worried about it yet, but let me zoom into a lower time frame and I think things will start to make more sense. So here, again, you see where we got that swing up to, came back down. Now we created a weekly level here, pushed right back to your monthly level, and we pushed off of it. So your golden pocket from your swing low to your high here, sitting right here on that level. So seeing a reaction here, not surprising. Like this is, you know, ETH BTC really does a pretty good job respecting the golden pocket, I would say. So that's where that came from. Turning on Ichimoku, this gives you a little bit of insight to why I'm looking particularly at this level for a nice bounce. Okay, so I'll tell you right now, there are pivots that line up in here. I believe there is a weekly pivot or monthly pivot. There's pivots that line up in here, which is good. You have your daily Kijun, which here was a really nice bounce off of, right? So you got your big move to the upside. You get your mean reversion right to your Kijun, really nice bounce back up to monthly, and you get your push off. Like this is very technical. Like this is very technical. I would argue it's very technical. And where are we bouncing off of? Your 618, right? Like your golden pocket. So your 618. 618 and your 66. That's golden pocket. So looking deeper here, I think if we, you know, this is a very nice potential bounce zone for me. I do like this. If this fails, I think this area here is a very nice potential bounce zone. And it's pretty easy to manage in my opinion because where are you wrong on this trade? For me, it's really losing. Like if you lose this cloud, I would be pretty scared. So it kind of marks like the cloud does a really good job because, you know, obviously like when you have closures below it, it's not a good thing. The thing is right now you're still bullish across the board for the most part. Now your Chiku span's like coming under price, which isn't surprising, but you're still very much bullish. As far as your Tenkin and your Kijun relation, right? It's still very much bullish. Your cloud is bullish, and even like you see this angulation upward right here. So overall, you know, this still is very much bullish. But if you start getting it, like, you know, so coming back down here for another bounce would be really nice. Actually, I think this could be a really nice bounce zone for ETH BTC. And it's very simple though. If you close below here, you even really take out this low. Then what do you have? You have a high, a low, a lower high, and what would be a lower low. Then you start to, now you have problems. Then I would be looking for lower levels. But for now, ETH BTC looks good in my opinion. So that gives me, you know, and I would say like this is on the daily time frame, right? So what I'm talking about, Ethereum looks like crap, alts look like crap. That's very much short term, right? Like that's how things look right now. This is a more higher time frame view of what's going on, I would say, in with altcoins, with Ethereum. And I think again, this is a pretty nice bounce opportunity here. You know, how high do we get out of here? I don't know, to be honest, but I would like this zone. I do think that the risk reward here is really good, in my opinion, because you don't, again, you're wrong. You lose cloud, you're wrong. Very simple. It's not only because you close below cloud or you lose cloud, but you would take out this low. So like it would be pretty easy to say like, you're likely wrong there. But so anyway, not too many questions so far. I'll take a break for a second. Is there any questions anybody has? The admins are in there answering all the questions, hopefully. So Rob says, so basically you are holding up the price right now. Well, that's the goal, right, Rob? But anyway, so with your bots, this is what you want to see, right? Like if there's one chart for you to monitor if you're trading, or like you're using trading bots, because again, the majority of us are trading alts, right? Man, like this is, I can't tell you how important this chart is. You really want to see this chart remain strong. If this chart, and so I'm kind of, not that I'm giving away, not that I'm giving things, I give a lot away. Who am I kidding? Like everything, all the videos and all that, but that would be a very strong indication for me to make some changes to my strategy. I guess you could say I'm happy with my strategy. Obviously, like, it depends how. I think a big difference, I'll get into bots for a little bit here. Like I think a big difference is that, it's about like managing. So I talked people through how I manage my bots on that drop. I think that made a big difference. De-risking, keeping my risk low, which I know a lot of people were still really like pushing the risk. That makes a massive difference. So like I'll give you an update on my bots right now, just straight up. So I'm very much fully covered. I'm very like the risk as far as my risk goes, it's probably the lowest since I've started. And the reason is it's very simple. Like I'm trying to set a good example, right? I've said that before. Like I think the smart thing to do is to de-risk. It's to be fully covered or as close to that as you could be. Now, like people are going to be unhappy with the returns more than likely because like people are trying to, like I keep seeing that 1% narrative, and I'll tell you right now, like that is a terrible idea. Trying to like you're setting yourself up to be disappointed, I guess I could say. Like when you're looking at things from a micro perspective, which day to day, if you're trying to like judge how successful your bots are by looking at, like taking it day to day, I think you're going to be very disappointed, especially on times like this. Like you can see, so what do you see here? Consolidation. So even on the ETH BTC chart, what does this tell you? We had a very nice run up, right? We've had a lot of like, this is really good volatility. Obviously really big run to the upside. This is, like alts absolutely just ripping upward. We've backed off from the highs. Now we're forming a range here. It's that simple. So like when this happens, you're going to have periods of consolidation like this in any market you trade. Nothing just well, that's not true. Stocks basically go straight up. Let's be real about that. But in most, I'd say most things, especially crypto, like it's not just going to go straight up every single day. So keeping your focus on what you're making like today, tomorrow, I think is a really bad idea. Obviously, that's all you got if you just started, right? If you just started trading bots and you're not sure kind of like what your expectation is for your profits, I understand that fully. But for those of you who've been around for, a couple of months or, at least a month or two, like you really have to look at, having a longer time horizon, I think, and giving your bots an opportunity to see different parts of the market cycle, right? And it's the same thing if you're literally just part of like the up only crew. Like if you started in February or well, I guess my videos didn't even come out until I think it was end of February or something like that. Like if you've just been here recently, you know, you gotta see how your bots perform in times like this. This right here is not gonna give you like this was like, oh, I would say a lot of these days was 1%, right? Everyone's like 1%, 1%, 1%. Oh my goodness, like we're killing it, making a ton of money. And that's true. Made a ton of money here. Now that things are kind of consolidating, you're starting to see the volatility die down a little bit, right? We're taking some bigger swings, or bigger swings. We're actually like, you know, consolidating here. You have to understand the type of market that you're in and have an appropriate expectation and be patient. That's like what I would say about that. Because we could range here for weeks. We could range, you know, ETH BTC could really, like we could range here for quite a while. We could be between this weekly, between this monthly, we could be here in August. You don't believe me? Look at some of these periods back here. Like if you really zoom out, like there's long periods where there's not like a whole lot going on. You know, it happens. So it's nothing to be, you know, like it happens. But I will tell you, I don't think like an incredibly long consolidation is kind of in our future. I do think we get a decision sooner or later. That's my gut. Going back to the Bitcoin golden pocket, I would not be surprised if Elon puts up a tweet when price is approaching the 618. What do you guys think? You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that is people get really mad at Elon because he's, you know, he doesn't help things, right? I'll tell you one thing. I think I said this before. Maybe it was a stream with the admins or something. That guy, though, no joke. I swear he does tweet at resistance or support. The guy knows when to tweet. The past 2 times I think I've seen, he's literally, you know, I think we were at 51,000 on Bitcoin and he tweeted and that's when we flushed down to like 45,000 or something like that. And people blamed it on him. Like, obviously, like I'm not going to sit here and say he didn't play a part in that because he you know, I would say he played a part in that, but the market was so weak then. You know what I mean? It's like he knew, like, you know, if I'm not saying that's his intention or whatever, but I mean, the dude, like, he tweeted at a bad time, let's say. And then again, the last time we were at, I think we're at 39,300. We were at that really important level on Bitcoin that I was talking about, and he tweeted and we just dropped, you know. But we were at really, really important critical resistance. So just interesting the timing. So I don't put too much, like I joke about it. I don't put too much thought into really like what Elon says because I don't really care. I just trade the chart. Like that's what I do, right? But I'd be lying if I didn't, like, the guy does know when to tweet. I swear. You know, not surprised. He paid someone to let, yeah, I can, Elon, if you're listening to this by some chance, dude, send me a text next time, please. I want to know. So anyway, like, so Ethereum, Bitcoin, again, we're bouncing off of this level. You know, maybe we get a push back up to maybe like 0.07, something like that. We'll have to see, but you can see where your daily Tenkin is going to he's going to reach this 0.07 point tomorrow and then kind of cool off for a bit. So, you know, putting in a bit of a range here wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if we get any real definitive move unless Bitcoin does something important. And I want to make that very clear. And I said that earlier in chat, but it's time to watch Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to likely be the one to lead the market in the direction that it's going to go. If Bitcoin pushes 40K, looks pretty good up there, it looks healthy, and I think, you know, we could see mid 40K. I think that's likely to pull everything else up with it. Ethereum, Ethereum USD at least is gonna likely push up there. A lot of your altcoins that are stuck in deals probably gonna get out of their deals. So that's essentially what we really want to look forward to, right? We don't want to see any more downside, obviously. So Marcel have to leave. Hey, absolutely. And you know what? This is being recorded. This is being recorded. I'm not sure if I'm going to share it on YouTube or not, but it'll be there. And the link should, like, if you click on the link back in Discord, it should take you back to this. It should be recorded. So you should be good if you want to watch the rest of it. Anyway, have a good one. So, I mean, that's it there. And I think somebody asked, why do you think, like, why are you worried about ETH? Why does it look weak? So that was very much today. That was very much today. And so I'll tell you, this is actually a really good, a good point right here. So I tweeted about this, right? Oh, wow. That's good. That's interesting. So this just happened today. Kind of see how this is, that's a good thing. But this posture is really bad. It's really bad. I'll tell you that. You have your bearish TK cross. Cloud's bearish. Now it is angled up, so it's getting really, really thin over here, which is good. I don't put too much weight on this right now. That's a good thing, but I still like where price is right now, clearly below your Tenkan, clearly below your Kijun. It's closed outside, like below cloud. This is bad. So from, like, if I just looked at this chart, right? If I just looked at this chart on its own, we got problems. That's how I see it. Like, ETH looks really weak. I'll give you some levels to watch to the downside. It's very, very simple. There's your two levels that I'm really, like, for me, from an Ichimoku perspective, this looks like crap. Really bad. Now, you know, we just kind of had this curve up. Obviously, like, it's looking like things are just kind of drift sideways, essentially. Like, I don't really get any kind of read out of where the Tenkan and the Kijun are headed. I do think if we pop back up to 2,700, I think this is likely to be a pretty decent resistance. But as this is sitting, this looks really weak. And I do think that if we close below 2277, so this is stuff that I listed in Discord. If we close below 22.7, right, I think that's just based on how this posture is right here, that would be very bad. If we lose 2100 and we actually close below this day level right here, it's, I mean, I'd say it's probably game over for ETH, to be honest. And like, I think like I would see us back, you know, 1500, something like that. But on the good side, yeah, you know, I did so much charting. Here we go. This is, see what I mean? And this is something that like I will advise you guys on, is try not to keep too many different chart layouts, because you forget where you do your charting on sometimes. But here's your levels, right, to the downside. And I kind of already charted this out to a bit now. Like, you know, I am looking maybe 1500, but ultimately I do think we could come all the way back down here. Now, does it make sense to really talk about this? Not really, because we're so far away. But I guess, you know, we kind of aren't that far away. So these are the levels that I will be monitoring, right? Now, you know, could we kind of be doing this? Could we do one of these deals for a while before we break down or break, you know, whatever we're going to do? Sure. But I'd be really uneasy. Again, like if I'm bullish and like I want price to go up, right? Like if I'm like, I don't want to see this level lost. That would be very bad. So you see this level get taken out, closure below, it's probably, it's gonna be nasty. Let's see here. So can you spend a few minutes explaining how to figure out good supports and resistances? To me, all ups and downs become. So it's very, you know, I mean, you can look at this chart right here and you can see kind of where, like, you know, so you have your daily level here. I'm actually going to do a video on how I draw my levels and why I draw them. So like, I can't really do a quick, like a few minutes isn't going to really do that justice, because it deserves, like, just how I do these levels is probably an hour video. So I don't really want to go over that now, but I will in the future, because it is important. Like this is really important stuff. So now to the upside though, just from a levels perspective, I think 3,300 would be massive resistance if we got there. Obviously the cloud says otherwise, right? So like I've given you the bearish scenario, and we are absolutely, so if I'm looking at this, right, I am absolutely more bearish than I am bullish on ETH right now, which sucks, because I really I want ETH to go up, but you know, you can't force it. Like right now, this looks pretty bad. We are sitting on support though. So this is being defended. And so you think this is an interesting level where we bounced off of, and then ETH BTC starts to go positive. So isn't that interesting? Because earlier in the day, right, we had opened, so where'd this candle open? We opened at 2,352, right? So when we opened, we had the drop. You know, ETH was looking really bad at this point already. It was yesterday that ETH was looking really bad versus Bitcoin. But we come down to this day level, where it's holding up as support right now, and you know, ETH BTC is like starting to hold. You know, you're seeing a bit of strength here on Ethereum versus Bitcoin. So that's really what you want to see. I want to see this level held. I would like, you know, you want to see a bounce back up to maybe 2,700. I think that would be pretty nice. Probably get a lot of deals closed again. So this, you know, I went over the bearish scenario. The bullish scenario is it's this. You want price to start moving up. And, you know, if we start testing the top end of this cloud, that would be pretty good. Obviously, like you want to see a closure. Like you want price to get back inside of the cloud at some point, right? So here's your bearish Kumo twist. You see how the cloud is thin, crosses over. You know, somewhere where the cloud gets thin would be a nice opportunity for price to kind of bust through. That's the bullish scenario. Kijun's way up here at 30,000, 3,050, something like that. This is going to be a really important resistance. I think if you can clear, I mean, just looking at this from an Ichimoku perspective, which this is wishful thinking right now, because again, we're so much closer to this playing out. But if you're able to clear by July 3,100, something like that, you get some closes above, then we can talk about some actually like some really bullish stuff going on. Like really bullish. If that played out that way, I'd probably be looking for new all-time highs. Or as you push out, you can see how cloud is getting lower. So as you get to, you know, July, you know, first week, second week of July, then the level kind of drops. So it'll be 2850, something like that. So this is the thing I love about Ichimoku, which like the majority of other indicators that exist don't take into account, is time. And that's what I love about it, because you are looking at future support and resistance. That's what's amazing. So like Ichimoku forecasts out in advance what levels to kind of keep tabs on. So that's, you know, this is another like a very underrated tool, I think, that a lot of people don't use. I think mostly because it looks confusing as all hell. I don't blame them. It looked really confusing to me when I started, but once you get used to how, you know, once you trade with it for a while, you understand, you know, you understand the indicator, you understand like how it works, then it doesn't, you know, it's less scary, obviously. But that's what I love about it. It's very much like, I think probably the most important part of Ichimoku is time. So that's something that, you know, I'd say it's very, very underrated. Let me try to go through a couple questions on here. So the Ichimoku, yeah. You know, so I've said this to the admins a bunch of times, but part of the delay, I think I even put this in chat, part of the delay for the technical analysis tutorials, it's really simple. I was on a 2-week vacation. I literally did nothing. I took 2 trades. I think the entire time I was in Hawaii. So I was on vacation, and when I came back, I've been really busy. But part of it is like I'm working on like a question and answer like material for myself for when I release this, because, you know, with the trading bots now, anything that we discuss trading bot wise, I have like a really phenomenal group of admins / trading bot coaches that can answer those questions for me, right? I have, you know, there's people in the community who are pretty well versed with I would say like what my strategy is, kind of my thinking. behind it that can help answer those questions. So I have quite a bit of support in that realm, which I didn't have before. But with technical analysis, it very much becomes me again. And that's really scary when I have the size of community that I have. So I really have to think through how I'm going to like unveil the technical analysis like, tutorials and all that, because it's just me. And if you guys only knew the amount of DMs that I get in any given day, I'm terrified to think what's going to happen once I start like releasing the technical analysis tutorials. I'm like terrified I'll never be able to do anything ever again. So that's something that I'm like, you know, I'm trying to work on some tools in addition to the analysis to help smooth things out, and obviously like give you guys a better experience, because what I don't want to have happen is for me to release these things. You guys have questions, right? Just like with the trading bots, and then you never get any response. So that's what I don't want, right? Because that doesn't help anybody. So is that Ichimoku indicator available on TradingView? Yes, it is. So it is on TradingView, absolutely. So the one that I use is actually my own indicator. So it's not available to the public. And it does things that you can't see. I have it turned off. But a really good one is actually Ali Ichimoku. I don't have it on here, but I think it's under one of my favorites. This one, Ali Ichimoku Cloud V1. So if you search for this on TradingView, this person actually is the first one that I saw that had the forecasting dots. I thought that was a killer idea. And like, this is incredibly underrated. The built-in one, let me take a sip. So the built-in indicator for TradingView does not have these dots. You're just going to see where your lines end. So you can obviously look at slope to give you an indication of where it might be going. But the thing is, the dots tell you a week in advance the likely trajectory of where those lines are going to go. And that is incredibly powerful. It's incredibly underrated. And I don't know why the hell every Ichimoku indicator does like wouldn't want this information. I think it has helped me in many situations. And it called this, so this is my version. The thing is, this person's indicator and mine, they vary slightly in the math behind this. So mine is slightly different. I'm not going to say whose is better, but mine forecasted this perfectly, flawlessly, like this move up, which is really interesting. So, but anyway, it's really helpful when you understand Ichimoku and you're actually using it to trade off of. Knowing where your Tenkan and your Kijun are going to be moving towards a week in advance is incredibly powerful. So that's one thing I'll say. So somebody says face reveal. So I'll tell you what. So next year, 2022, there's going to be a Trade Alts meetup. There's going to be one. So if you guys want to meet me where that's going to be, then we'll have a good time. I'll buy everybody drinks. So we'll have a good time. But I mean, I basically like I went over Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? That to me is the two majors. That's the important charts. That's literally what's determining what's happening right now. So I'm kind of going to move into this phase now where it's very much Q&A. If you guys have questions for me, I'm happy to answer. So like the technical analysis piece is basically done. The stuff that I really wanted to cover. If there's things that you guys want to cover, if there's charts you want me to look at, happy to take a look. If there's questions you guys have about strategy, something like that, I'm happy to answer those right now. So I very much want to treat this as like this portion as a Q&A. You guys are in Discord, in Telegram. I think most of you are probably from Discord, but you know that I update the technical analysis piece all the time. So it's not like, you know, you guys can catch me there. But so Matic, okay, Matic is a good example. So Matic, what though? USD, I'm guessing. Is there any specific time frame that you're interested in? Like, so if you're gonna ask me about Matic or any chart, just if you could give me a bit of context behind why you want me to look at it, that would make my job a little easier too as well. So like looking at this looks like, man, this is so let me make sure. See, I'm already on the wrong damn chart. See what happens? You have too many charts open. Give me a second here. Which so I was saying this in Discord, it's so in bot talk. Somebody brought up Matic, and I basically like took a quick look at the chart, and this is, you know, I think 107 to 110 is likely a bit of a support down here. This looks bad though. And Matic has been an incredible looking chart for quite a while now. It's not that it looks bad, but I do think we're coming. I do think we come. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a bounce off of this level. So you're looking at 107 to 110 region, and so the 110 is, it's kind of hard to see. I could pull this out for you, but it's just a 786 of this level, from this swing low to this swing high. So that's your 786. And you have a daily level sitting here, which is good like this. So this is a decent little zone of confluence here. Let me undo this. See if I can turn on, see if there's any pivots lining up. Go on to a smaller time frame, maybe a weekly. Yeah, you're pretty close to your weekly pivot, which is 112. So this little, you know, I would say, oh my goodness. This little region down here, I think is a decent opportunity for a bounce. But, you know, you've had insane volatility on Matic. I know basically everybody's, you know, a lot of people except for myself, for some reason, I just haven't ran a Matic bot. I don't know why. I really missed out. But this is one of those where I don't think it just dies. I'd be surprised if it just flushed down. You know, I do think as Matic has had quite a bit of attention. There's a lot, it has a lot of really good things going for it in the chart, to be honest. And even on this drop, so on May 23rd, basically, so this was on the 19th, right? Yeah, so this was the flush, big move to the downside on Matic, but this is a hell of a buyback. Like, this is really strong here. And we've kind of, again, we've drifted back down to this area, but here is where your closures are. Like, I do think that you have a decent amount of support around here. So for Matic, here's what I don't want to see though. Okay, and it's not that I don't want to see it. It's like altcoins really get blown out of proportion a lot of times when you're using Ichimoku. So this definitely happens. But what would make me pretty bearish is if we lost the, so if you can see we're going to shift over here in 6 days. So on June 17th, so again, right, the time, Ichimoku giving you the important support and resistance ahead of time. On June 17th, you're going to see price move over the cloud. So either we're going to be above in the cloud or below the cloud. What I wouldn't want to see is price move below cloud. And you can look at your Tenkan and your Kijun here and see that the forecaster is telling you what's going to happen, right? So you see your Tenkan kind of, it looks like in a week's time, around the time that we're going to be, you know, in somewhere, you know, wherever the cloud is, that it potentially might go bearish. So that's something to think about, you know, going forward. Like, you want to see, obviously, like, if we do come down a bit more in Matic, I do think we get a nice response. And to be 100% clear, Matic is basically going to do what Bitcoin does. It's going to do what the rest of the market does. If Bitcoin is strong and, you know, we're pushing 40K, like, Matic is probably going to have a very nice snapback. If Bitcoin continues to look like crap and is down at range lows, you know, now Matic has been kind of one of the ones that defies that a little bit, but judging by how we've moved down, I wouldn't be, you know, like betting the house or anything like that. It's very much going to do what Bitcoin does, to make it like point blank. But we are coming up, I'd say in the next week, you'll get some clarity on it. But I do think this is a strong level, at least initially. I would expect a pretty nice bounce, but we'll see what Matic looks like next week, essentially. Or, you know, if price manages to get back above, you know, you're really looking at 182, something like that. So if price gets back above this level, then, you know, you basically got a nice potential to 220 region, something like that. I'll be curious to see where. Let me take a peek at something really fast. This is where it gets a little, not challenging, but this is, Yeah, 184. So this is the level. I would say this for me is a pretty important level. So that's why I said 182. Point of control is around 184. This is like, if you get above this, I think you got a good shot. 220, something like that. So that's to the upside, but you know, you got quite a bit of work to put in before that happens. Looks like he's addressing that. When I'm trying to figure out my entry for my bot, what time frame on the chart should I be looking at? So that's, you know, I'll tell you that if you're using DCA, if you're using my, like the stuff that I've been over in the videos, there isn't necessarily an entry. You just turn the thing on and let it go, right? Now, obviously, I would say that you're better off. So if we go back to Bitcoin, right? So hopefully I answered Matic to a degree, which I think I did. So if you go back to Bitcoin, for example, I'll just give you a little bit of an example onto a lower time frame. Oh, man, we did come through value area low. We hit 35,000 exactly, $35,002. I still have that short running, by the way. So I did take a little bit of profit off, like I had mentioned, but I'm still short, and I don't, you know, I do think we're gonna get a bounce off of this low. I'm not gonna bother closing it because I already took some profit off. I'm just gonna let it run. But I do think we're at a point where we're gonna likely see a snapback to some degree. But anyway, so back to what I was saying. You know, I think like if you were to turn some bots on, like, so the thing I'll say is that it's really important for you to evaluate the risk that you're willing to put forth. So I think that's number one, because right now volatility is, you know, it's lower than it's been. The profitability is lower than it's been. You know, I would say we're closer to support than not, which is a good thing. But, you know, I guess I would rather turn, like, it's not necessarily a time frame. I would rather turn a bot on now here than up here, if that makes sense. So I don't do that, by the way, just so I'm clear. When I turn a bot on, I turn it on. I don't even look at the chart, to be honest. Now, I mean, with Ethereum or Bitcoin, I know every day where it's at, essentially, right? So I'm comfortable like making the adjustments there. But as far as altcoins, if I see a bot that I want to turn on, I just turn it on, because I have that, you know, I have quite a bit of protection to the downside, so I'm not too worried about it. But if I had to be super, super picky about when I turn things on specifically, I would much rather turn bots on now than turn them on up here, right? So like you're starting at a lower point, get more protection to the downside. And you know, there's a counter argument to that. Like, you could have filled some safety orders, and if we do indeed get a pop up here, then you're going to make money. But that's just me being a bit overly cautious, because, again, like, I'm stressing. I feel like a broken record. I'm literally stressing, like, please, like, make sure that everybody minds their risk, right? Everybody's careful with their portfolios, and they're not overextending, because this is not the time where you want to be running, you know, 300-400% risk or anything like that. That is not a good time to do that. And I know that people are still doing it. And, you know, you can say something 100 times, but it doesn't, you know, it's like people are going to do what they're comfortable with, or what they think is a good idea. And I'll tell you though, running really high risk in the kind of market that we're in right now is not really a great idea. I do think, so like jumping ahead, if I had to look at Bitcoin, and like, let's say that we flush the 30K low and we're sitting at low 20K, something like that, you will very likely see me, just going to tell you now, because for the 76 that are watching right now, you're, you know, 75 minutes into the stream, I'll share this with you. If we do indeed get that flush to the downside, obviously, like, you know, hopefully the bots aren't absolutely wrecked. I'm being perfectly honest with you. I don't know. Now, that's another reason why I'm keeping my risk acceptable, right? Like, I am fully covered. I could care less about what happens. with them. But like, I think, I think we're at a point where we're likely to see a very sizable bounce come in. Does it come in from the range that we're in now, or does it come in from lower? Either way, I do think we're going to have a very sizable bounce in on the horizon. So if we, and by sizable, I think a push mid 45K to maybe even 50K, low 50K is certainly possible. And that would be a phenomenal opportunity for the bots. I think the bots are going to do incredibly well. But if we don't get that push here and we do flush out lower, we hit mid 20K, something like that, maybe even low 20K, I do think that there's going to be a point where we get an absolutely massive bounce. Even if that means just putting in another lower high, whatever it is, like I do think we're going to see some really strong, a really strong move to the upside at some point. So, and that's me, like I'm not just saying, I've done quite a bit of analysis, like I haven't shared, that's a whole different stream. But, and that's me looking ahead, planning my trades, right? So for those of you, hopefully, like, by now, like I try to stay ahead of the game. I'm always looking at, I'm trying to have my levels mapped out in advance. That way, when the levels are hit, I'm ready to take the trade. And I'm not sitting there panicking, because that's what most people do, is they don't kind of prepare themselves, right? So that way, when the chart actually hits your levels, like you're not being reactive there and trying to put a plan together. You already know exactly what you're going to do. You already know exactly what you're looking for. And if you see the triggers that you were hoping to see, you take the trade. And that is very much a perfect example of my $31,000 long trade that I just took. I was incredibly prepared for that trade. The trade came down, my alerts hit, I was in front of my computer, luckily, and I was able to watch price action in real time, saw that like it gave me the entry I wanted, I entered, and that was another really, really nice trade. So that's a good example of being prepared and ready to take the trade. Unlike the other one, which I said earlier in the stream, which is a terrible example of having a preset bid at 34,000 because you thought there's really no way in hell that 34,000 is going to hit while you're sleeping, but you set it anyway, and then it hits 29,800. That's a bad trade. I still made a lot of money on that trade, but it's not something that I consider a win to me because it was a terrible trade, and I'm just lucky that it worked out. So those are two examples of one of them not being prepared, and it was still a win, but I don't consider it that because it was a bad trade. Or you have the long from 31,400. That was an awesome trade, and I was ready for it, and it, I got in when I wanted to get in, essentially. So that's looking ahead on Bitcoin, right? When I'm talking about us breaking $30,000, I have my levels mapped out already that I'm ready to trade, and I'm ready to watch for reactions. Like I'm very much ready for that. I don't really want that to happen because I know that's probably going to negatively affect a lot of people in Discord who are running bots, especially for those who continue to be over leveraged. I think that's going to be really ugly. So if I could have my way, I would prefer some upside, help people out a bit, and then try to reset everybody's mindset a little bit, right? But nonetheless, if it happens, it happens. I'll be ready to trade that. And it'll be like, there's likely some phenomenal trades to be had from that. So, and again, to the upside, right? I'll just give you like a very quick, oh man, I guess I kind of did the downside a little bit. To the upside, there's one, I think this is likely as high as we would get. I would be shocked. I'd be absolutely shocked if we push back above 52,000. If we did, I would become very bullish. Very bullish. So if we push back above into this range is value area low, and we are actually like we were accepted above it, I would get very, very, very bullish. I don't think that's going to happen though. I think that there's, I think if price does push up here, there's going to be a lot of selling going on here. That's just my opinion, but we'll see. Hopefully we get the opportunity, because if it does, that means we probably made a lot of money getting there. I'm not overstretched, but I had to overfund my account. Yeah. Yeah, that happens sometimes. So how confident should I be if I'm fully covered? Well, I think I think that if you're patient enough and you're fully covered, And, you know, I think that, you know, I mean, I'm not going to lie, like there would be some, you know, it really would depend on the reaction of Bitcoin for the most part. What happens if we do get that flush to the downside? But I'm hoping that people like are in crypto. If there's specific projects that you like, those are the ones that you really want to be trading, right? I know a lot of people are looking for like the max ROI altcoin, the max, you know, like what's the best one to trade today. And by the way, don't you think that it's interesting a lot of times the people who chase, so I don't chase coins, right? So I got 5 stars in GTA right now. That's actually, I feel like that's pretty hard to do. But anyway, I feel like the ones who chase altcoins, so like Matic is one that comes to mind. Now, rightfully so, Matic it's a bad example because it's well deserved of having a bot running it. Like incredible, you know, like the chart, it deserves to have a bot run. But you think of like, I'll give you an example, Shiba. People running that made money, but I think a lot of people found out why, like, if you run bots on things that you're just trying to chase the hype, I think more often than not, like you're going to make money, right, on the way up. But if you have something that just dumps down and never comes back, you're in serious trouble and you're going to lose way more money than you made on the run up. I'll give you an example, and I hope Ribsy doesn't mind me sharing this. But this is as perfect of an example as I can think of. So I was going over Ribsy, like we were talking about his bots. I was talking about my bots, and he brought up, like, he asked me, so like, what do you think about IOTX? So you guys can look at IOTX and see what happened. And let's take a look. I don't even think I have. I'm gonna have to IOTX USDT. Let me put this. I mean, you guys can see from this how you don't even need me to tell you what this looks like. Okay, so just looking at this chart, where do you think Ribsy's bots open deals? And where do you think his bots open deals versus where price is now? If you answered here, you're correct. So let's say, and I don't know exactly what his settings were, but I'm going to take worst case scenario. You know, I don't know if that's fair. I guess I'll take maybe here. And you drop down 60%, right? So here is about your protection. Oh, it's exactly 60. Look at that. So here's about your protection, right? So this is where safety order 30 happens. But look where price is from safety order 30, right? You're just, and you haven't got a bounce. That's going to save you, which, by the way, just because your safety order is down here, where's your average entry? It depends on your the other parameters that you're using, right? But let's, like, your average entry is probably here. It's not, you know, like, so this, when you're trading something like this, which currently is down, it's down 74%. Like, I hope that you're listening right now, because this is a very good case study and something that I would really encourage, which I didn't even think about this. I would definitely have mentioned it in the videos, like what to avoid, right? IOTX, and 3 commas, hopefully you're not listening because I'm about to say something that you're not going to like. But IOTX was a competition that, if I remember correctly, 3 commas was running a competition with partnership with Binance to have people using the 3 commas platform trade IOTX. Which naturally, if you're using DCA bots, most people are going to be doing basically exactly what we were doing, with much different settings. Obviously, you know, you know, I don't know, however people were trading it. The fact is, what happened. So here, you know, I don't know when the competition started, wherever the hell it started, doesn't matter, right? So like you get a run up. I know that Ribsy was saying he made a lot of money on it, like he did really well on IOTX, right? But the amount of loss that he's very likely sitting in is much, much, much greater than the gain that you made trading this to the upside. Because obviously the depth of your safety orders, you know, when you're like fully maxed out 30 SOs, and like even if you have any additional safety orders that he did, I don't remember if he did or not, but that's way more money than, you know, when you're having a quick run to the upside here, and you know you're maybe a couple safety orders deep, whatever, and like, you know, like making smaller profits on the way up. Now IOTX again was a competition that was run, promoted by 3 Commas in partnership with Binance, and there was rewards for like who could trade the most. You know, like whoever the top trader is on IOTX, I think maybe they wanted like a couple $1,000s or something like that. I don't remember the exact prize structure. It wasn't worth it. But basically what happened here is like, and now, you know, I don't want to piss anybody off, but let's be real. I think the only real reason why you would run a trading competition like that, like I think there was some exit liquidity that was happening. If you get a bunch of people on the long side, right, trading your shitcoin, and, you know, you have some people waiting to exit, basically a pump and dump, right? That was kind of orchestrated. And I have a problem with that. So I'm going to say that right now. And if some people hear it, they don't like it, that's too bad. But that was messed up. Any competitions that you see, I would be very careful trading those types of competitions, because, like, you know, if there's whatever it is, right? Oh, if you get a reward for doing it, if you know, I would say if I went back, and this is just a guess, and this isn't the first promotion that 3 Commas has ran like that with Binance. It certainly isn't the first. You know, Binance does these things quite often, but this is what happens after, right? Like, hello, you've been dumped on, and now you're stuck bag holding. So the moral of the story is, don't trade, don't chase things. Like, I really trade for, like, my philosophy on bots is really simple. I use it to build, and that was before, I used it to build positions that I was comfortable holding long term, right? I have my portfolio that I hold, and I was using the bots as a means to further build that portfolio to, you know, because I felt pretty good about the project long term. I wouldn't trace some piece of garbage like this, and this is why. It's very simple. Like, if I was stuck holding a bag of IOTX, I'd be so mad right now, because the odds, like, are you gonna get a bounce out of here? I don't know. Let me take a look. Let me go to a daily. Like, this looks awful. You know, literally a pump and dump. And you're back sitting here like your range that you put in back in February. I mean, like, you're literally sitting at these lows. So, you know, do you get, let me actually do like a little bit of analysis, just a little bit. So what, the crap part is, I don't even think you've made a low yet. You know, like, I don't even feel comfortable now, you know, here at 2 cents, which sucks because this thing was trading at 8.5 cents, right? Maybe at 2 cents, you have some support here. You lose that, it just gets worse. Like, this, you lose this level, you're coming back, you're probably coming back down to a penny. So, like, this is, I mean, this doesn't look good, you know? I mean, it's just straight down. Like, this is literally a pump and dump. 2 cents critical level, you lose that, you're going back to a penny. I'm very comfortable saying that, which it's very rare. If you watch a lot of my videos, I'm not very, like, I usually don't speak in certainties, but I'll tell you that's probably going to happen. The best case scenario here, I mean, Bitcoin starts ripping, we're pushing 45,000, you know, 48,000, something like that, and all alts pull a U-turn, we get, you know, we get a move to the upside. I think best case is somewhere maybe 5 to 6 cents if at best, which I'm not even sure. I have to go back and look where his average entry was, but I don't even know if that would have helped. So like that's the side of things that we don't talk about often enough, right? It's the flip side of like it's trading things that and this goes back to chasing, which I really strongly discourage people to do. It's chasing coins like Shiba, it's chasing coins like ILTX, it's chasing the ones that it's like the shiny diamond, right? That you're like, oh man, like this thing's going up, 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 like I'm gonna make a bunch of money on my bot. But a lot of people don't think about this, like what happens afterward, right? A lot of alts look terrible, a lot of them. But I mean, you have, you could be trading something like Solana that is actually showing a bit of strength. Like, let's take a look at it. No, it's down a bit. But I mean, like, this is kind of the point, right? Like, this is what's doing. This is a whole freaking. So just remember this. Here's your point of control. When I do this, it looks terrible. But like, you got your move up. We got our flush down with the rest of the market, right? That was a nasty Bitcoin flush to the downside. But what did Solana do? Like so far, it got to bounce back up to the golden pocket. Good TA for you, by the way. So we literally flush down back to your golden pocket, and you got a reaction off of here. But it at least showed strength to keep you in the game, essentially, right? So now naturally, we're kind of losing, looks a little weak here. I do think we could come back to 31. I think 31 is a level of interest. I certainly think 28 is a pretty nice level. So here's your golden pocket the other way. Right? So you have your all-time high. Bitcoin flush the downside. So that is the fib that I'm pulling. You get your golden pocket right back up into the sweet spot. And so far you've pushed off of it. But you can take the same pull going from low to high to find your bullish retracement, which leads you to about 20, this $27, $28 area. So this is a level that I really want to see held if Solana does fall to these levels. But anyway, the point is, like, you could, instead of trading some piece of garbage like Shiba, ILTX, like you could trade something like Solana that's literally looks like this. I mean, why wouldn't you want to trade something like this, right? Something that's actually really strong. And even this, like this, this doesn't look like super great as it sits, but it is one of the better looking charts, I would say. If I were to go through a bunch more charts, it probably looks a little better. But, obviously, just from a long perspective, I think if you see 27, 28, it's probably a nice little area here. Now, this leads me to my next point. I'll use Solana as an example. If it comes down, am I blindly buying here? The answer is no, I'm not blindly buying here. I need to see other forms of confluence. So like I'll tell you right now, you have a daily level here. So your daily golden pocket basically sitting right there. You have and I really like pivots. Do you have a pivot? No weekly pivot, which is fine because we're actually getting new weekly pivots in a couple of days. Daily pivots. Oh, well, I'm on the daily, so you're not going to be able to see it. I don't have to move down to like a 12 hours. So look, your S3 daily pivot. So let's say today we got to move down to 27. Let's say Bitcoin flushed down 32, 33,000, something crazy like that. And you got to move down here. This lines up very, very nicely. A lot of I like this confluence quite a bit. Probably not a bad idea to take a stab here. Go to a little bit higher time frame for your monthly. No. So we're right at monthly pivot basically. So we're below it right now, which isn't good. But for the most part, it's not the end of the world or anything. Like we're kind of chilling right around the monthly pivot. So like a really quick 5-second analysis, I really like this zone for a potential buy. But if Bitcoin looks like hell, and I mean hell, and we're like losing some really critical levels, I probably wouldn't be taking this trade just based on that. Unless Bitcoin was showing, that it was respecting some lower levels, maybe we come down to the 33,850 level that I actually really like. Solana has a wick to the downside. I'm just saying like that's what I would look at when I'm taking these altcoin trades. I definitely look at what Bitcoin is doing for sure. I'm definitely mindful of Bitcoin in the back of my head. I'm mindful of Ethereum, what that looks like when I'm trading alts. Damn, we're still going strong. Yeah, where are we? 96 minutes in, still getting after it. Would be good to do a session on blacklist maybe. I mean, yeah, I guess, like I said, like, you know, we could, I don't want to discourage. That's the thing, right? I feel like my settings, the way that I use them, you know, when you're in chat, I feel like some people get berated a little bit if they're sharing things that aren't my settings. And I want to be really clear. That's just what I use on altcoins. And that's what I found like I like, and it seems to work well for me. But I encourage people to try their own stuff, you know, like I encourage people to test their own strategies out. It's kind of the same thing. Like if I were to do a video on blacklisting certain pairs, I feel like I don't want to restrict people from like and say you should never trade these pairs. I think I wouldn't mind helping people make better decisions, wink wink, but I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to discourage people from trading something that could do really well for them, if that makes sense. Like I'd rather them understand the risk of trading pairs like that, but you know, I don't want to like just straight say don't ever trade Doge, because Doge is going back to, you know, a lot lower. I don't want to say that, but you know, because Doge has been a really good bot for the most part. So it's kind of like it's things like that, I guess you could say. Not that I would say don't trade Doge. I'm just saying like I don't want to discourage people. Okay. Anyone else having a choppy stream right now? Let me actually look at my Streamlabs, and it looks perfect. I haven't had any drop frames or anything like that, so it should be good. If you're having a crappy connection, maybe try to refresh the page, but on my end, it's like I literally have had zero, like it's been a flawless stream. So maybe if you're having a little bit of difficulty, you could refresh. What's that monthly retracement called? I'm not sure what you mean, monthly. Are you talking about the fib that I pulled? The fib retracement. So that's a Fibonacci retracement, which is it's one of those modules that I'm going to be going over, talking about Fibonacci, what it is, how you use it, how it's helpful to kind of determine support resistance levels, that type of stuff. So, you know, that's definitely going to be there. Oh, R1P, so pivot. So that's your pivot points. So if you just go to indicators and search pivots, I think it's pivot point standard. And what that does is essentially it calculates your like important support and resistance zones as far as previous price action goes. So pivots are, let me take a drink here, hold on. So pivots are very much, you know, they're very much, I trade them similarly to how I trade levels, like level by level. So if you push above your monthly pivot, the next level that I'm looking for is your R1. So wherever your R1 pivot is, right? Which happens to like this is the kind of confluence that I really, really like to see. Okay. So if you are above your monthly pivot, which, you know, and by the way, so for pivots, I do find them very, very useful in crypto. Like I love pivots for trading. I use them extensively when I trade traditional markets, like extensively. They work very well. But again, for pivots, I treat them level to level. If you're above the monthly pivot or whatever pivot this is, right? It could be your daily, weekly, whatever. I look to where the next pivot is. And what do you know? Your R1 monthly, right? Yep, monthly pivot. So your R1 monthly pivot, which is a resistance, right? It's at 54 bucks. What else does it line up with? Look at this, your 886. So it lines up really, really nicely with that, right? So this is two things telling me, hey, you know, as far as this particular pivot goes, I am seeing other confluence that I really like. So that could tell me, you know, hey, maybe we do end up, maybe Solana ends up pushing up to, you know, 53, 54 bucks, but you're likely to find, you know, pretty heavy resistance up there. Like that's kind of what this helps me understand, like helps me plot out levels on charts. All right, so that's pivots, and that, as I said, that's its whole, like, pivots deserve a whole like video to itself. You know, like that's something I can't cover in 5 minutes, but that gives you a generic idea. Again, like they're basically calculated based on previous price action, and they're very, like, they end up being very well respected for the most part. Not always, but they give you really good ideas of where you could have reactions if you approach these levels. Same to the downside. Do you script indicators yourself, or are they available from other TradingView users? So I mean, if you go to TradingView and you type in pivot point, oh, that's bad. Let me just type in pivot, just to give you an example. So the one that I'm using is standard, right? Pivot point standard. But Brianne, so you can watch it whenever. I'll make sure to save this. So I'm probably gonna leave it unlisted, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna list it for everybody, because I kind of want to keep it like Discord, Telegram only, because I appreciate you guys very much. But it's definitely will be available to watch later on. You should. It is DVR'd. So have a good one, by the way, for leaving. So pivot point standard, this is the one that I use, but you can see, like, there's a lot of pivot, like there's a lot of other pivot indicators that are built by these people that you can use. So you can go, I mean, this is the cool thing about TradingView. There's a lot of, there's a lot of this stuff you can go and check and see if it works out for you. Yeah, anyway. But as far as the only indicator that I have is my Ichimoku indicator that's private. That's actually mine that I had built, and I'm still working on it. So I think that's I think that is probably going to be it, because I see everybody leaving. We're 102 minutes in. We're probably going to wrap it up to see if yeah, that's probably going to be it. So hopefully everybody had a good stream. I had a lot of fun. It was about an hour 40 minutes, something like that. I will be posting more updates as when I wake up tomorrow, see what price action looks like, and to kind of throw this back up here again. Hopefully you guys enjoy, I mean, not enjoy, but hopefully you guys find this useful, because this takes me a significant amount of time to actually type all this out. So hopefully this is of value to you guys. And if you guys didn't know this room was here, you guys haven't read, like, you guys don't read through it too much, I'll tell you that I really would check out what's written in here, because this is going to help you, like I would say, this is going to help you have, a better understanding of kind of what's happening in real time as price action develops. So if you're going to be deploying more bots, if you're going to be, whatever it is, maybe there's things in here that are telling you to be careful. You know what I mean? So maybe you want to hold off until you see, a bit of strength in the market, turn around, then you can turn your bot on. But anyway, it's just to try to help you guys out. I appreciate all of you. Hope you guys have a good night. Trade safe, and we'll see you in Discord or Telegram.